back. I was just having a wonderful introduction with my first guest. Welcome to our health corner on Brunch, a Taste of Tobago. With me, I have Dr. Todd Denoon. Now, for those of you who are familiar with Dr. Denoon, he's very fun. He's like a ball of positivity, a ball of energy. And he has, graciously accepted the invitation to join us on Brunch Morning Set. So, Dr. Denoon, thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much. You're welcome, Janelle. I love a good brunch. So
Yes.
here I am.
All right. So let's talk about Zoonoses Day 2023. Inquiring minds want to know what exactly that is. What is the importance of it? What is the date? And blah, blah, blah. You know how it goes, and we just want all the information for the viewers.
All right. Not a problem, Janelle. So first off, I'm going to talk about what a zoonosis is, or zoonotic disease, because it's not a word that gets into day-to-day vocabulary, right? Nobody's using the word zoonosis over breakfast or at a lime. So first and foremost, a zoonosis is a disease that can be transmitted between humans and animals under normal circumstances. It can be transmitted either directly, so through contact, being in the same environment, but even oftentimes it can be transmitted indirectly with intermediate vectors, so like a mosquito, an intermediate animal, etc., or even the food that we consume, which again would be sort of direct contact with the animal. All right, and World Zoonosis Day is really a celebration of the work of Louis Pasteur, who would have been that chemist way back in the 1800s, 19th century, who pioneered vaccines. And July 6th is recognized as World Zoonosis Day because it's the anniversary of when he administered the first rabies vaccine. And again, we speak about rabies because rabies is one of the most noted zoonoses that is still around.
Okay, and is most likely to occur because you're just talking about the transmission from animal life to human life.
Yes.
And so that is one of the things that I was concerned about because I never heard about zoonosis.
Right.
And so when you started to explain what that was, my heart started to palpitate just a bit because I'm saying, okay, just yesterday I would have tried to get stop a mosquito from landing on me. And then sometimes they get the chance to land, and then there's the blood that they've had from somebody else, God knows who, from God knows where. And that has always been a concern to me, but I did not know there was actually a name for it.
Right.
So I'm so glad that you're here. Go ahead.
So while the term zoonosis might be fairly new, the diseases aren't. So rabies is not a new disease. And there are so many zoonoses out there. From rabies to leptospirosis or lepto. Many people know about it. It's a very big concern now because it's the rainy season. It's passed from rats. Your dogs can get it. You can get it. We get it because of floods in agricultural fields. It gets onto our produce. So if you're not washing your fruits very well, you can get it. But even some of the more common infections, so like staph, which can be infection that humans can pass to each other. You could also get it from animals. So those are some common diseases that are very much in part of our everyday life that we've never really thought of. We've never really thought of the implication that this was once from an animal and it can pass to humans. So that setup makes it sound scary, but it's something that has been part of our lives for a very long time.
Wow. I find myself, because as you're speaking, my mind is going all over the place, guys, honestly. And I find myself thinking about the ecosystem. How is the ecosystem affected? Because there is a natural flow of how things should go, how things should be regulated. How does zoonosis affect us?
That's a really great question because the focus right now, especially now that we're post-pandemic, is really about buttoning down on that One Health concept.
Yes.
So the reality of zoonoses is that over 75% of the new and emerging diseases are zoonoses. So COVID, there's a theory of it coming from bats or being involved with bats at some point in time. But that is a trend that is very much common to a lot of the emerging diseases that we are now learning about. So it is important for us to look at the human behavior and the fact that human health, animal health, and environmental health all intersect to determine the health of the globe, basically. So that concept of that intersection between human health, animal health, and environmental health is called the One Health concept. And it's important because all those things influence zoonosis emergence. For example, there are about 7 sort of factors that really influence how zoonoses are emerging and changing. And that involves our demand for animal protein. So we are eating a lot more protein, and maybe even exotic protein. So the way that we interact with and utilize wildlife, the way that we are traveling is so much more easier now. And we saw the impact of that during COVID. So it started off in China, or at least it was recognized in China. And within months, it started spreading and became a pandemic.
Yes.
So what was an epidemic turned into a pandemic because of that free and easy movement, not only of humans, but also of foods. So we have a really high import bill. So we're importing things from other places. And when those things come in, you're looking at the diseases of the plants, but you're also looking at vermin that might be on the ship. You're looking at insects that might be on the ship or the plane. We're looking at the way that we're using land. How are we expanding our urban areas? How are we treating with our natural resources? How are we impacting the environment? And of course, we're looking at climate change. So we're looking at global warming. And one of the things that we mentioned in terms of zoonosis is the fact that vectors or insects and other animals are part of that train. So when you have warmer temperatures, insects are breeding faster. And of course, once you have faster breeding, you have a bigger population, you have them sort of impacting outside of their regular season because wintertime is now warmer. So they're like, you know what? I could survive this time. Whereas, they would have been going into hibernation or inactivity. So all those things are affecting the way that the environment, human health, so our behavior, what kind of meat we like, where we are living, the environment, so global climate change, as well as the fact that we're moving so often and so many places.
And as you spoke about the changes in the environment, now animals have learned to adapt. I see it every day. Just the other day, I saw this, what do you call those? A bat. And it was just fluttering about. I'm talking about high noon. It was near midday. And it's there and just fluttering about and just having a merry old time. Whereas you would expect this particular species to be resting or
during the day.
Yeah. And I said, no, things are definitely changing. Even chickens now. When my grandmother was alive, we had chickens. We reared chickens and we reared ducks. And at a certain time, every evening, they would go to sleep. And I am there and I'm hearing a cock crowing, and I'm talking about late. It was late into the night, and this cock is crowing. And I'm saying there are definitely changes. You're seeing nocturnal animals. They are getting about just fine in the daytime. And I said, well, okay, ecosystem is changing. A lot of things are changing. And it's so ironic now that you're bringing the information about zoonosis to us because, like I said, I, just like many other people, did not know that there was actually a term for it. Yes. Because we would have been concerned about the mosquito bites and you freak out if you see a rat because you know.
Yeah, we think about these things in really isolated things. So whenever it comes to your yard, then you think of it, and you only think of it as that one incident. You don't think of it as on a broader scale. You don't think of
Yes.
this category of disease, which again can be scary to think of, but it's important that we are responding and not reacting. So it's important for shows like this to bring information to the people and look at the things that we can do in our day-to-day lives to protect ourselves. And one of the
Definitely.
important things, again, which is sort of underscored by this day and this celebration in this year, is the importance of vaccines. So vaccines, again, it is literally the anniversary of a rabies vaccine. So the role of in which vaccines are playing in the ability to potentially eradicate diseases. So vaccines have done a great job in controlling things like polio, which is not a zoonoses, but it has largely controlled, for example, rabies. In many places in the United States, for example, rabies is heavily, it's a legal requirement to to have your pet vaccinated because of its very serious impact. But also looking at the COVID vaccine and the importance of that in our ability to come back to this normal functioning. Like, we're not wearing masks anymore. COVID is still around, but a lot less people are dying. And it's very important to say a lot less people, because people are still dying.
And on that note, Dr. Todd, we are going to come back with you. Dr. T in my book. So I have shortened it. So we're going to be back with Dr. T. We're going to talk some more. But before we take a break, if you guys want to talk to Dr. T, you can call us at 284-6597. We're going to open the lines up and you can ask any questions that you may have. Again, the number is 284-6597. We're going to be right back. Stay tuned. We are back. Thank you so much for coming back. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for being a part of this inspirational segment. Our Medical Corner continues, or Health Corner continues, and we're speaking with Dr. T, or Dr. Todd Denoon. Dr. T for me, but Dr. Todd Denoon for the rest of you. All right?
Because we're besties now.
Yeah, because
we go way back.
We besties, so it's Dr. T for me. Just a reminder of the phone lines. I really need for you guys to call. It's 284-6597. 284-6597. And we are back with Dr. Todd. Before the break, you were talking about, well, I asked the question, as a matter of fact, about the ecosystem and the effects and the changes. My other question is, should we be very, very much concerned moving forward?
Yes, so we should be concerned, and I want to underscore that concern with responsible responses and not panic, because panic really doesn't serve anything, because you're much more likely to do something that may make the situation worse. So now that you know that there is a situation, and again, a situation that has been happening, this is not a new situation. So remember that you've survived thus far. But now that you know that there's something out there, you know that humans have an impact, and you know that your day-to-day behavior can have an impact or is contributing, then you could start making small changes, and of course, getting information from credible sources as to how your behavior should change.
Okay, so we have a caller on the line. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, caller.
Good morning. Quick question for the doctor. Is there any home remedies that we could use to prevent or to treat with zoonoses?
All right. So the question is about home remedies. So it's really important for us to understand that zoonosis is a wide category of disease that involves many different diseases. So those diseases, the causative agents may be bacteria, they may be fungi, they may be viruses like rabies, or there may be even these really interesting things called prions, which are what mad cow disease is, right? So first and foremost, any sort of remedy would be tailored to the specific agent, whether it is something that can be effective at home or through conventional medicine. that is up to the disease. I often like to underscore medicine and the natural homeopathic movement by saying that one, there is no safe substance. There's only safe ways of using substances. And I really want to underscore that because we think something that is natural is always going to be good, it's safe, it came from nature. But again, something that's 100% natural is snake venom. Poison ivy is all natural. So nature is not this wonderful, harmonious thing that is willing to open its arms up to us and cuddle us. Nature can be very vicious, and there isn't something that you can use, for example, in any large quantity or in any quantity, any form that will never have a negative effect. So with home remedies, you're looking at the difficulty in standardizing dosages. You're looking at the fact that we may not know the mechanism by which it is acting and all those other things. So to say, I can't directly say that there is a home remedy for zoonoses because there isn't one remedy for everything. But most importantly is to speak with your doctor, speak with your healthcare provider. If you don't have one, I would suggest getting one so that they can build a good relationship with you, so they know what your concerns are and they can tailor your treatment or your healthcare to your needs.
Definitely. That was actually a good question because a lot of people are, and I have to say during the pandemic, this kind of spiked a lot of interest
Yes.
in home remedies, a lot of interest in the naturalness of what is growing around us, which are very, very beneficial. We have another caller. Caller, come talk to Dr. Todd. What's your question?
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Hello. Good morning. Yeah. So I have a cat and I would like to know what kind of symptoms you may see in a cat.
Could you repeat that question for me?
So I have a cat at home
Mm-hmm.
and I would like to know what kind of symptoms you may see in a cat.
What kind of symptoms we
For
will see in a cat?
zoonoses. Yes.
Sounds like it.
Yes. For
Right.
zoonoses.
So, I mean, again, symptoms are tied to to diseases. So what I would do is sort of talk about the common diseases in cats and what you could generally see. So a lot of the very common diseases in cats affect the immune system. So you're going to see a cat that is not thriving as much, that may have opportunistic infections, which tend to affect either the respiratory system, so you have cold, or the digestive system. So you have diarrhea, you have vomiting, or you have lesions or sores around the mouth, because those are the systems that interact with the environment. So you're putting things into the animal is putting things into its mouth, which again not sterile because the world isn't sterile. They're breathing in things, again, that's in the environment. So the respiratory tract and the digestive tract are sort of the front line for opportunistic infections. You could also have skin infections. So those are the sort of signs that you would generally see in cats. And again, when you have a kitten, the first thing that you want to do is start deworming. Come to the veterinary office, get the animal examined. They can start with deworming. You can have a consultation about diet and management, and of course, vaccines. Again, very important for controlling diseases, whether they are species specific or whether they are zoonotic.
That's a very good point because the other question that I was going to ask was about vaccines,
Yes.
the process of vaccination, the importance, the pros, the cons, if any. I like to have a balanced playing field. So whereas you're indulging in the positivity aspects of what we're discussing, there are the negativities that could arise. And so that is what Brunch is all about. We are here to really inform you and, give you that space where you can make decisions and informed decisions.
Yes.
on your life, as
On
a
your
matter
life.
of fact. So the caller would have just mentioned about her particular instance, which would be a cat, a pet cat. And I think what you were saying, if I could just reiterate, is that you have to know the specifics. It's tailored to the species, it's tailored to their normal habits, what they like, what they don't
And the
like, what
specific
they
disease, of
indulge.
course.
Yes, and the specific disease, of course, which is also something that I felt the need to really reiterate. That's why I even came back to that part of the discussion, because for those of us who have pets, we often have those concerns. Um, but the importance of vaccination, let's touch on that a bit for our viewing membership and our listeners.
Right. So vaccines have played an integral role in controlling disease spread. And so that would be the incidence of disease, which is the morbidity. So how often this disease shows up in the general population, but also the mortality of the disease. Do people die, or individuals or animals die from the disease? Vaccines, what a vaccine is a modified form of a disease-causing agent. So you may either kill the agent, you may weaken it, or you may take part of the agent. You put it in a form that you can then introduce into an organism, or an animal, or human. And what that does is it familiarizes the immune system with that agent. So when it reaches the real agent, the big, strong, bad one with all the virulence, with all the potential for harm, it already knows what to do. And it can, the antibodies can then interact with it, neutralize it, and mount a defense much more rapidly than introducing a novel or new thing where it now has to get familiar. It now has to produce antibodies. So that time, that maybe about 2 weeks of dealing with a new thing, can literally be the time between life and death versus a few hours, a few days with a vaccine. All right. And of course, back to what I said earlier, there is no safe substance. There are only safe ways of using them. And part of the conversation during COVID-19 and the vaccine, which again was not a new conversation, it happens almost every time there is a large pandemic or a new vaccine. It happened when the polio vaccine was coming out. But we really don't talk about polio because very few people know of individuals who have polio.
Indeed.
Right? But the concern is with adverse vaccine reactions. That is a reality. That is a medical reality. There are going to be individuals in our environment who react very strongly to things that are, for the general population, innocuous. Let us look at milk. Many people can have milk. For some people, if they have milk, their whole day is ruined.
Yes.
Right? And even more interestingly, you could be allergic to yourself. So autoimmune diseases. So people are literally allergic to themselves. So like rheumatoid arthritis, your body is reacting to your synovial fluid and your joint fluid. So looking at the grand scheme of things that you can have negative reactions to yourself, or things that are very common, for sure you can have reactions to vaccines. So what you're going to have to do when you're getting a vaccine, you have to look at your past history with vaccines in general. Are you an individual that has had negative reactions? If you haven't, then chances are you may not. Does not mean that you won't, but it may not. You also have to look at what is your immune status. Are you immune compromised, whether it is because of an immune deficiency, whether it is because you're going through chemotherapy, and that tends to affect the immune status, your immune status, whether you have multiple comorbidities and your body is just dealing with a lot at the moment. All those things come into play with whether or not you can be vaccinated. And once you know whether you can or can't, you can make a decision. For example, if you can't, then you may have to modify the way that you're living, the way that you're interacting,
Definitely.
so that you protect yourself, because you don't have this other protection. And again, vaccines work as part of an entire process. So once you have a vaccine, you have to look at your role within the community, the way that you're interacting, the risks that you're taking as well. So a vaccine is not this cure-all, but it is part of a robust health response.
Oh, I had the question. You guys realize what happened there? I had the question lined up, and it so happened that Dr. T answered all of the questions. He dotted all the I's and
because we're
crossed all
here.
of the
It's
T's.
because
I
we're
told
here,
you we're
Janelle.
besties.
We're
I told you
besties.
that. I told you. So it's like a telepathic thing going on here.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking it and he's saying it to you guys. You know what? I have a trivia question for you. This is going to be good. Which Tobagonian Calypsonian performed in a British family movie? This is going to be good. Name that Tobagonian Calypsonian that performed in a British family movie. Your prize is amazing. It is a brunch for two at Waves Restaurant. Have you ever been? Come on, get those fingers typing, and this could be you. Which Tobagonian Calypsonian performed in a British movie, family movie? Yeah? So I think I said it enough times. So it's up to you guys to get typing, and we will get back to you in a bit. We have another call on the line. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, caller.
Hello.
Good morning. Can you hear me
Good
clearly?
morning.
Hi. Good morning. Can you hear me clearly? Great. So I
Caller,
wanted to know, based on the topic.
we're having a little trouble hearing you. Can you turn your set down? Can you turn your TV down while you talk to us?
Of course. All right. Can you hear me better now?
Yes.
A bit better, yes.
Okay, great. So as we're on the topic of zoonosis, and as how it's a transmittable disease between animals and humans just alike, I wanted to know, are there like specific categories based on this type of disease?
Based on the start of the
I think she said based on this type of disease.
Okay, so yes,
Based on
the
the
main
type of disease.
right. So the main categorization would be based on the causative agent, as well as the type of spread. So looking at the categorization based on causative agent, you have bacterial zoonoses, you have parasitic zoonoses such as tapeworms. So that speaks about where we're getting our meat from, how we prepare our meat. Fungal zoonoses such as ringworm, very common. Not a worm, it's an actual fungus. Viruses such as rabies, and prions, which would be bovine spongiform encephalopathy or mad cow disease. All right, and there are others, but it's a very small group, and we have not had any incidents of mad cow disease locally, so it's not something that we need to necessarily be too concerned about. Know that it's there. But also the other category is how they are transmitted. So either by direct contact, for example, rabies is spread by the bite of infected individuals. So infected animals bite humans, it is transmitted in the saliva. Being in the environment, so whether it's aerosolized, so you have an individual who is coughing or sneezing and that's going in and you're inhaling it, or indirectly, so through mosquitoes or through some sort of vector or intermediate animal. So those are the main categories. So causative agent and mode of transmission.
All right. So for our listeners and our viewing public, we need to, for those of you, and I know I'm having a feeling that persons are wondering, if there are any numbers that they can call regarding Zoonoses 2023, and also getting your lovely friends, your lovely animal friends to the vet.
Yes.
I'm thinking that that's what you're thinking. All right. So I'm going to let Dr. T give a number where you can reach the clinic, because you definitely need to get your lovely animals in, and also contact information if needed for those of you wondering about Zoonoses 2023. So Dr. T, over to you.
All right. So again, I'm from the Tobago Animal Hospital. We're located up at Government House Road, obliquely opposite the President's House. Our contact numbers or office number is 239 7837 7837, or our emergency number, which is 688 8281. That's 688 8281. So the emergency number also is our WhatsApp number. You can get us there after hours, but you could also get us at the office number during the day. We're also on social media, whether it's both on Facebook and Instagram. For messages, if you're going to use our social media platform, you get faster responses on Facebook rather than Instagram.
Oh, I have to leave you. I am not happy. This should have been a longer interview. I have enjoyed speaking with you
I really
immensely.
have enjoyed being here as well.
And we are going to take a break, and we are going to be right back. It's DIY time. Yay! Love it, love it, love it. Live for it. We're going to be right back after this. Thank you so much, Dr. T, for joining us.
Thank you very much, Janelle, for having me.